you believe that we started recording right in the middle of 2020 with all of the COVID and lockdowns going on around us, unable to meet up? So like many a young gentleman, we turned to the internet for our entertainment. Tried to find a place where we could meet up and talk about the good, the bad, and that time that Stu saw a pelican on the canal. In order to facilitate our dreams of answering all of the big questions in film, and after a few attempts at recording via other methods to various levels of success, we found Zencastr, a super easy web-based one-stop shop for recording. Log in and you're ready to record in a matter of seconds. It doesn't take a tech genius to get high quality audio or video. And on top of that, the one time we have had an issue, the fact that the multi-layered backups are stored locally means it's easily fixed all in browser. There are plenty of tools you need when you start podcasting, so let Zencastr take that headache away, as it offers a place to record, edit and distribute all from one website. Any lazy bones Jones can pick up and play and have studio quality audio or 4K video put out for the world to see when using Zencastr. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code CAGEFIGHTING and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. We want you to have the same easy experiences we do for all our podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. And now, hit the music. Hello and welcome to Cage Fighting. It's your main man Andy Gillies here. Hope everybody is keeping well right now.
Hello everyone, Stu here, and I will be there for you. It had to be done. It had to be said.
I was so confused for like a split second, and then it clicked into place what we were talking about. Yeah, obviously you'll have seen the title. So this is about the Men of Friends. We did mention it last week as well. Dear, I'm just making a quick note. Yeah, are you okay, Stu? Anyway, sorry, before we get into the podcast. I feel like honestly, I've had a hell of a day, a week at work. For all day, it's Thursday, the day we're recording. Yesterday, I was certain it was Tuesday. I just feel like I'm all to cock this week, and I can't seem to get my head around the fact that my work week is now over. I feel like I've still got to get up for tomorrow.
I mean, we can't be spending the first 2 minutes of this podcast with you saying men of friends and then all to cock. I mean, it's all got I know what you mean though. It is very bizarre because especially because it's not cold, it's not warm. Yet when I got up this morning, it was 4 degrees. But then obviously knowing that when it comes 9 o'clock, it's and not 4, it's going to be 11, 12, which is still prime shorts weather. So I just got to power through, and I don't know where my beanie's gone. It's vanished.
To be honest, I've got like 30 days. That's not even me being hyperbolic. I have literally got about 30 caps you can borrow one if you want, mate. That's fine.
Cap-wise, there's 6 caps down there on the cap rack. But beanies, I don't know where my little wolf one is. So I'll have to find it for the prime time comes. But so, do you think you got more shoes than hats? Or the other way around?
It's probably close.
The fact that it's even a question.
Yeah, I've probably got more hats, and I can see 6 in the picture right now. So it's probably hats, because I do also have a bag of stuff down there. So it'll be close, but I think hats might shade it.
It feels like there needs to be a spreadsheet made.
Yeah, like legitimately, if I lay them out on the double bed, it would fill the bed because that's a ridiculous amount. I like a cap, I like a beanie, I have 2 deer stalkers, just anything and everything. I mean, when Ash Dolan got back from somewhere in America, he bought me one of those Davy Crockett hats. I can't see it at the moment. It is in here somewhere. But you know, the one with the raccoon tail. So yeah, I've got one of those as well. So yeah, I have a lot of hats and a lot of trainers.
but nowhere to store them. They're just everywhere.
That's the problem. So I've ended up buying shelf racking to just put trainers on, still in their boxes. There was a pair that I bought 3 months ago. I've only wore them once, and that was last week. I do have an issue that I need to iron out, I think.
Yeah, them neon Jordans are still on Vinted. They've been taken now, still. At time of recording. They might, well, by the time you listen to this, I could have either been stabbed to death in Tottenham or I've succumbed to myself and bought them Jordans as a treat to myself. But I have been watching them. I thought,
you should do it. What were they? 100, were they?
They were less than that. They're, as with all Jordan ones, they're about 140 ARP, and these were...
Yes, yeah.
I think there was 70 last time I saw them. Last time I checked.
Just slap a bid in of 50 and see if they'll haggle.
Yeah, I've done that a few times. I tried to get... I saw the Wolf, the old late 90s Wolves logo, and the FC one. I saw there was a quarter zip, a fluffy quarter zip, grey jumper, very rich but with that logo on. So obviously from about 1999 or something like that.
Yeah. And
I got that for £9. Oh, yes.
Bargain.
I love Vinted. It's a dangerous place.
I've never used Vinted. Is it like StockX and eBay, that type of thing?
Yeah. Very similar. But more reliable. It's more clothes, and I mean it's probably too dangerous for you because it is a lot of trainers. And a lot of hats.
Yeah, I mean StockX is bad because I've got alerts for all the other trainers I get, but these are the ones that are ones that you just can't find anymore. So they tend to be quite pricey on there. But I know with StockX you get guarantees where you'll buy a pair of trainers, the seller will send them to StockX, who will check them, and if they're legit, they will send them on. So you do pay for their service as well.
Yeah.
But I assume, does Vinted have a similar thing where they'll check for authenticity?
I mean, you've got a thing where I think it's £1 more, where you can pay vintage, whatever it is. It's almost like a guarantee thing, just to be sure. And if you get diddled out of it, not in a P Diddy way, but if you get done out of it, then they'll give you your money back. So
that's good. It's worth £1 then, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So you don't really mind, especially when you're getting deals like that. I mean, there was an old PlayStation Christmas jumper on there as well, and I thought, I know my grey one from last
season.
Exactly. My grey one is, especially since we had the weather warnings there from the Birmingham Mail saying snow blizzard occurring and all this stuff. So it's finally here. But yeah, Vinted is the way, I think, unfortunately. But yeah,
check this out.
It has been very weird, and the fact that I've spent more time in the last 2 days trying to plan for 2 trips to London in 2 consecutive days, which shouldn't be an issue. It should be just a simple thing of get on coach, come back, get on coach, come back. Yeah, it's like going on holiday. It's mental, but there we are. Friends,
yes, the men of Friends. So we're going to have a look at David Schwimmer, Matt LeBlanc, Matthew Perry, their work in Friends and their work outside of Friends. I heard a story today about David Schwimmer. He was offered Will Smith's role in Men in Black. What was that, 96, was it?
97, the other film.
97, yeah. Yeah, he was offered that role. And the reason he turned it down is when he signed a contract. I think it was one of his friends' contracts. Part of the deal was that he got to make a film as well. He got to direct his own film. And in that film, he'd cast all of his friends from, I think it was the Chicago theatre that he sort of came up in. So he'd hired everyone in that. And then this offer came in. And it would have meant dropping out of directing this. And that film, I think it had Terry Hatcher and all these other people who've gone on to have massive careers off the back of it. So David Schwimmer could have been, I mean, probably wouldn't have been Will Smith because I can't imagine he'd have had a rap career. But he could have gone a complete different way and been probably the most successful of Friends. But no, he decided to stay loyal to his actual friends. I think that's really admirable. That's quite a cool story.
kind of knowing bits and pieces and what you learn over the years, that doesn't surprise me in the slightest about him, because he seems like the most normal one out of all of them.
He does, doesn't he? Like, he's the least Hollywood, I think, when you think of all of them. But it's a film called Since You've Been Gone, which I've got to be honest, I haven't even heard of this film before. But yeah, it was his directorial debut, 1998. That one was released. Terry Hatcher, Lara Flynn Boyle, obviously David Schwimmer was in it himself. Harry Lennox is in it, so quite a few faces you'll recognise in this one.
Lara Flynn Boyle, of course, being in Men in Black 2.
Yes, of course, yeah. But I just thought that was really admirable of David Schwimmer, because I imagine there aren't many people in Hollywood who will put their friends' careers before their own.
Yeah.
So I think we may as well start, actually, with David Schwimmer. Ross is probably the most hated member of the... Like, I don't... Like, I understand why people hate him, and it's a bit of a joke, really. But, like, he's fine. Like, I think... I quite like David Schwimmer in this show. I think he fits the role pretty well. I don't think he's quite as neurotic and nerdy as Ross, actually. So I think it is very much a character that he's playing when it comes to it. And with all of the other, especially the other two guys, you've got like the uber sarcastic one and the uber drippy one. You kind of need that one who's a little bit more down the line. And I feel like David Schwimmer does sort of toe that line pretty well.
But he does also have that kind of... He's got the face to be nerdy, hasn't he, though?
Yeah, it does help, doesn't it?
He's... Everyone, they're all very well cast for what they are. I'll say that about Friends. That everyone is superbly well cast for their character. And maybe that's because we've watched them for 10 years and we kind of got used to it and we don't know any better. But you couldn't imagine anyone else being him.
Yeah, that's a good... I mean, I probably should have had a look and see who else was... Maybe I could do that for next week. Who else was in line to take these roles? Because you are right. And it might be a case of we spent 10 years with them so we can't see anyone else. But there's no actor who would spring to mind who could do that role, especially like late 90s. Because everyone else seemed like they were just megastars, especially the ones who ended up in Friends.
Yeah, well, you throw one in who was in Friends, who can do anything, Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
That would not have worked as well.
No, I couldn't picture him doing anything other than what he actually went on to do. So, Ross then, thoughts on Ross as a character? Obviously, he was the sort of the grown-up of the group, I think, when it came to, at least on the men's side of it all. He was the more mature one. But he did still have his moments, like the episode where he gets the tan. Which might be one of the funniest episodes of the whole run. Like, I do genuinely think that's brilliant.
I mean, to caveat, I haven't watched them since it finished because I was genuinely cried that night when it ended because it had been such a massive thing, and I think everyone was it. I can't remember what happened. I know it happened for Lost, where we stayed up till the end, and that was like in the early hours of the morning.
Well, I remember Friends. I remember being in. Oh God, is it O'Neill's? It's Slug and Lettuce now. It used to be O'Neill. I remember being in there, and they had it on the TV. Like, you couldn't hear anything because the music was on, but they were playing it. So I think it would have been like 9:30 at night, something like that, rather than a 2 a.m.
Yeah, it was probably just the next day after being shown in America on that night, and then it was the next night here.
We didn't quite have. I mean, when did it end? 2006.
30 years. So yeah,
of course, it's the 30 years, and it was 94, wasn't it? It started around for 10 years, so yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, I think by 2004 we hadn't quite got the day and date thing down, had we?
It was just like, I'm not sure. Thinking about it now, I'm sure it ended in America on that Wednesday and we got it on the Thursday or something like that, because it wouldn't have been middle of the night kind of stuff, especially for that. But it was definitely, it was pre-Twitter and everything being ruined anyway, so it was fine.
Yeah, that is very true. It did help. But it's quite an event, and it feels, especially that last episode, coming to that, everything sort of led, everything that was leading to in that final episode. The big story going into that was about Ross and Rachel, wasn't it? Because really the whole show from the first episode to the last episode was the will they, won't they? I know other people had big stories going through it, but those two especially felt like they were the centre of this story.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that last episode is, I'll mention that at some point today, for one of the characters, but not for Ross. But no, he was a fool. And I think you can kind of, you look at the other two and you could, you've got one who's a bit of a bum who just kind of does the bare minimum to get by and thinks he's going to be a star. We've all got friends like that. We've all got friends who are the uber professional who's a bit of a nerd. And then we've all got someone like him who's unlucky and a bit nerdy and a bit gangly. His arms don't really fit his body and that kind of thing. And that's exactly what he was. And I never got the hate either. I thought he was class. I thought he was great. And the whole thing about his ex-wife being a lesbian and all that stuff. Oh, yeah, we know Friends, if you watch it, looking through a modern lens and it's all bad and whatever. But back then it was funny when people could laugh at things. So we're going to go through the next 2 weeks believing that that's still the case. Because when I watched it, it was funny. But yeah, the tan one was one of mine as well, same as the teeth.
Yeah.
The teeth.
The teeth, brilliant. The leather trousers as well. Like, that's the reason I've never owned a pair of leather trousers, because that is something I probably would have done at some point.
But
no. You
had white jeans though.
Oh, I had white jeans, white skinny jeans. Yeah,
which could be worse.
Loved those.
But it was all the stupid, like the unagi and the holiday armadillo and things like. It was all the stupid stuff, and it all worked because it was him. Yeah,
you are right, because he is effectively the straight man of the trio. So when he does something silly, it is so much more memorable because it stands out for him. Like the pivot thing, him screaming pivot like that. I've seen T-shirts and stuff that you can buy now with the word pivot on.
Yeah.
Like, how is that still a catchphrase 20 plus years later from that episode?
Oh, yeah, and when you listen to Totally Football Show and they started talking about double pivot, and I laughed at myself every time. But it's a show that ended a long, long time ago. Yet it's still there, burnt into my mind.
Yeah. It will always be there, I think, that one.
Yeah.
Another episode of his that I always liked was the one where they're running late. And no one will get ready, and it's his big night, and just nobody is doing what he needs them to do. And then when he goes to drink the glass of fat, when Joey basically says, "Oh, you can drink that," and it's like, okay. And he doesn't realise that he was a joke and he was going to do it. And I think that's what showed who Ross was, that he just wanted everything to be perfect all the time. And I think he was a bit of a control freak. You could see the relationship between him and Monica being siblings, albeit slight, like they were two sides of the same coin almost. I liked that about them.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, having a sister, that is kind of what it is like a lot of the time as well. I mean, I know there's 4 years between us.
Yeah.
It's not as alien a concept to them two being like they are to how me and Lindsay are. And especially have been at certain points. It's got to mellowed a bit now.
Yeah. I imagine you have a dance that you can do with your sister, much like Ross and
the knee
Monica had. Yeah.
It would probably be the knee thing, to be fair. Because that was the thing, because she was 4 years younger than me. She didn't watch it all until later on. And I think at that point, so she would have been so she'd have been just leaving or she'd been doing her GCSEs when it ended. So she was in the kind of right age to be watching it properly and kind of taking it all in, as we were 20 at the time. So, yeah, I mean, like, whenever, like, at Christmas when I wear my fabled golden jeans for the Christmas game, last time when she compared me to a chip and put it on Facebook. I said, well, it's only something I do to someone else, so I can't moan about it.
Yeah, absolutely fair. So I think if we look at like what David Schwimmer's done outside of Friends, I'd say he's been the most, well, I don't think it's controversial to say he was the most successful of the men. I think it's 50-50 on him and Courtney Cox when it comes to overall. Because I think like he's done quite a lot of good work in the director field. Like he feels like I don't know if any of the others have actually done any director work at all, as far as I'm aware. But obviously he's gone on and done the odd bit here and there in the director's chair, which seem to have had like a fair bit of notoriety, maybe I think's the word. Stuff like Run Fat Boy Run, which I thought I really enjoyed that film. I'm a big fan of Simon Pegg and Dylan Moran anyway. I loved that. I thought that was excellent. Yeah. And I feel like he sort of found a bit of a niche for himself doing these, either producing or directing movies, more so than in front of the camera.
And a bit like we were saying, the normal one earlier. It's almost like because he's got so much money. Well, all of them have. Like he can do what he wants, so he doesn't need to do like massive blockbusters or sell out and do like P commercials and stuff like that. He can just do whatever he wants, and so choosing these niche little projects. I mean, I've got two on here, memorable ones straight away. That I know that you haven't seen one of them, but the other one maybe. Madagascar.
Yes, I've seen two of them. Have there been three or four?
Well, you got the spin-offs as well. But he's a giraffe.
Yeah, I've definitely seen the first one. I think I've seen the second one as well.
Yeah, it's not just all about Julian and all that stuff. But he's basically playing Ross as a giraffe.
Yeah, like he fits that character perfectly. Like if you anthropomorphize Ross, he's a giraffe. Like that just makes sense to me, and I don't know why.
And we talked about it before, haven't we? About certain people A-list, even at the time, A-list actors can't do voiceovers at all. Yet it works perfectly, and he's really good in Madagascar. Even from an animated thing. And the other one, which I know you haven't seen, or well, maybe, Band of Brothers.
I haven't yet, no.
Where he's...
For my shame.
He's the kind of bumbling sergeant. Is he a sergeant? He might be a major, I can't remember. He's in a position of authority anyway, and he's got there through other means, and he's not nowhere near combat ready. He's more of a bookworm. And it's not necessarily Ross, but it's the same kind of vibes. But obviously Band of Brothers is a very serious program. And yet it's not played for laughs. He's just a knob. And like everyone hates him. So you have got the kind of thing from Friends where everyone the outside world hated Ross, apparently, but I never met anyone who did. Yet in Band of Brothers, all the company hate him.
Right, okay.
It's very interesting, especially with that being at the time as well, and Friends still being on at the time, for him to go and do that. So
yeah, I mean, I never even considered that, but obviously that is two very, very different genre of work to be doing. It's almost unheard of to have someone doing a very, very mainstream comedy and this really critically acclaimed dramatic war story. That's pretty incredible, really, for an actor to be doing both at the same time. It's amazing.
Yeah, and the fact that he isn't Ross, in that he's just this guy, and it works perfectly. And he's really good at it, to be fair. I'm amazed that he didn't do more serious things after doing that, because he can clearly do it.
Yeah. The two that I've got on my list, one of them is a bit more serious. The other one is when he's appearing in Curb Your Enthusiasm, asks himself, him and Larry David are doing the producers, I think it is, and they're learning the dances and all that stuff. And David Schwimmer plays a very, very straight-laced version of himself. Like he's playing the caricature of who you imagine David Schwimmer to be, not telling Larry David his family secrets. And he says that his dad, was he a watchmaker or something in it? And Larry David gives him a suggestion to give to him, and he's really offended by it, even though it was nothing. And it was just really good to see him send up the caricature, the thing, the person that the audience seems to think that he is, but he probably isn't really. But I love Curb Your Enthusiasm, so anytime anyone's in that will be 2 thumbs up from me. The other one that I've got on my list, I don't think you've seen this one, American Crime Story. It's the People versus O.J. Simpson.
Oh yeah. When he plays,
Robert Kardashian. Yeah.
Excellent
in that. Yeah. I love the American Crime Story. I can't remember. Yeah, there's been 3 series, hasn't there? So we've had the O.J. one, we've had the Killing of Versace, and then we had the Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky one. All 3 of them have been absolutely fantastic, but first season of it was the People versus O.J. Simpson. And he was great as Kardashian, but I sort of went into it thinking, this is a bit weird. We're going to have, I was going to say Robert Downey Jr., Cuba Gooding Jr. playing O.J., and then you're going to have him as Robert Kardashian. It just felt like the cast was a little bit too comedic, and I wasn't 100% sure if it was going to work for me. But it was excellent. Like, it was really, really brilliant. Especially with it being Ryan Murphy, you know that sometimes, like American Horror Story, they can be a little bit insensitive, for want of a better word. Like they do trample over stuff that probably shouldn't be trampled over in some of the series. So I thought with American Crime Story, because it's a retelling of real events, there's always that possibility that it could actually just end up being offensive. And I don't think it was at all. I think they held the line. They did it perfectly well. I thought it was a really enjoyable show. And I thought he was excellent as Robert Kardashian. Like, he portrayed the character that he allegedly was, someone who was battling with his demons over whether or not OJ's actually the murderer. Which, I mean, let's be honest, he was actually the murderer. And like his friend, I understand why you would rally around someone that you've grown up with and know them and you have your own impression of them. I absolutely understand that. But then when he's hearing what's going on and his reaction to it, yeah, I thought Schwimmer was excellent in that show.
Yeah, I never even knew that it was a part of a series of anything. I just knew it as the People versus O.J. Simpson. That's what I knew the title was.
Okay. Yeah, they did this weird thing. I think when it was originally announced, it was American Crime Story, like you've got American Horror Story.
Yeah.
And it was going to be an anthology. But then maybe it's just because in the UK, rather than have American Crime Story, subtitle, whatever, they just called it by the subtitle. So I think if you go onto Netflix, it won't be the Killing of Versace. Is that the 2nd season? It won't be called that. It won't be called American Horror Story Versace. It will be called Versace. Same with the Impeachment, which was the Monica Lewinsky one. But apparently we get in season 4 at some point next year about Studio 54. That'll be interesting. That will be interesting.
Well, it's like this new Monsters thing, the Lyle and Eric Mendez story. Because that's got big monsters across the front of it, and then the subtitle. Whereas Dharma was Dharma, and then Monster. So it's the same brand but different. It's like, what's going on?
I was confused because it came up on the streaming service that we use as season 2. And I was like, well, hang on, now can you have a season 2 of Dharma? And then when I clicked into it and noticed, it's actually Monster, and it's not what I thought it was.
Yeah.
Have you watched any of that yet?
No, not yet. because for the same reason I saw it this afternoon.
Okay.
Because there was someone they were talking about it at work earlier on, and for the same thing, she's have you seen Monsters? And I thought she meant Monster, the Charlize Theron film. Is that her? Yeah, that is her. Yeah, because she's all grief-eyed.
Yeah, Eileen Warnos, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the one.
Aussie serial killer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an ugly fight. Yeah, I didn't know about it because I hadn't been. The only thing I did start watching The Perfect Couple. Very fun, very fun.
Is that the one with Kristen Bell? No.
No, it's no. This is a 6-part true crime drama with Nicole.
Oh, sorry, you did mention that the other day. Yeah. Okay. Any good?
Yeah, it's over 2 so far. Very, very good English accent from Nicole Kidman, which is bizarre. Doesn't really make any sense, but there we are. Yeah, I'd completely forgot about that OJ documentary. It's been a while since I watched that.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's really good. Matt LeBlanc next. Obviously, Joey, the lovable idiot of the group. I feel like he's someone who we'll get onto one of his late shows, but I feel like he's always sort of played this character in whatever he's done.
Yeah.
Like every time I've seen him in anything, when he was in Married with Children, which I can't remember if Married with Children was his first ever appearance on TV. And he just basically plays Joey Tribbiani, to be perfectly honest. Lost in Space, he was kind of Joey, but in space, there wasn't a massive amount of range for the man himself, but he's still very lovable with it, isn't he? Like you kind of want to be his mate, I think.
Yeah. He's one of the ones where if anything bad came out about him, you'd be gutted.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he's not playing Joey; he's playing himself.
Yeah.
Because I've got that on here, I've got episodes on here as well, and
same. Yeah.
But when he was hosting Top Gear, he was just the same. He was exactly the same, and yet he had Chris Evans there as well, the bad Chris Evans. So he had someone not really a straight man to work off, but still he was being Matt LeBlanc. He was being Joey, but with cars and on the BBC, and it still worked. He was the best part of that show.
So weird to have Joey Tribbiani, Matt LeBlanc, doing Top Gear. Like, how does that happen? That is such a bizarre sort of casting for this show that's it's very niche, isn't it? It is petrol head nonsense. So, like, how does Matt LeBlanc end up on that? That's such an odd sort of left turn for an actor to go into that world.
At the time, it was the biggest show the BBC had. That's how it happened.
Yeah, I suppose that it is, yeah.
It was their number one show worldwide, ratings and stuff. So all their money went on him.
Okay, so he was still working in America effectively.
Yeah, I think
even though it was for the BBC, that show would have been here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah, I can't remember. It's been a while now. I think they did a couple of the big trip things, but it was mostly just the studio. But that was like 8 weeks, so it wasn't long. It wasn't that long.
Yeah, it just seems like such an odd one that was. I didn't watch any of these, so I'm not really ever been into Top Gear myself. But yeah, it all seems very bizarre, that did. But yeah, Joey, obviously, like I said, he's the lovable one of the group. He never really had a love interest other than that weird thing with Rachel towards the end, which I've never quite understood why they tried that out. I don't feel like that worked at all, if I'm being honest. It felt very out of left field, and then they pretty much just dropped it as quickly as they started it.
But again, going back to being relatable. No, I'm not. Not that it matters. It's a long time ago, but I've had mates in the past who then you've been like, in the same group of friends for years on end, and one person had been with another for a long period of that time, and then they split up, and then someone else got with her. It was very odd behaviour, and it didn't last. Obviously, it never worked. So it's two friend zone kind of siblingness. It was a bit bizarre. Not me, not Goldie. Let's just put it out there now. But it did happen. So again, speaking, these things do happen. So I can kind of understand why they've tried it, but people didn't like it. Did they? It was never going to work.
No. It's I don't know what it was, but their chemistry just didn't mesh well at all. No, they didn't, did they? Which is odd because I feel like him with everybody else, he's absolutely brilliant. Because I feel like him and Phoebe were always on the same wavelength. He was one of the boys, so he sort of fits in well with them. I think Monica being a chef, and obviously Joey likes to eat, like they had their relationship. But him and Rachel never really, I didn't see it. It would have made more sense if it had been Monica, but obviously Monica was with Chandler at that point, so that's not going to happen. But yeah, kind of weird. Any moments that stick out? Like the first one that springs to my mind is, could I be wearing any more clothes?
Yeah.
And we've got all of Chandler's clothes on. It's the first one that always springs to mind.
All the clothes is my number one. Yeah.
It's outstanding. Have you ever seen the outtake where he comes in and flashes them? So I think it's the same episode, and he walks in and he's wearing a robe. And I think Ross says, like, have you got any clothes on underneath that? And he just opens it and flashes it. And then he turns to the audience and you see that he's got a picture of David Schwimmer over his groin. So it's a very funny outtake. I mean, I've sort of spoiled it now if you haven't seen it, but it's very good. I do like that one. And London, I think like he's the star of the London episodes.
Yeah.
Someone just so happy to have been in a different country. Especially this shithole, but you know.
Well, it wasn't at the time. It was the American version of what London is and was maybe then. But I had that, and then I had hand twid.
Hand twid. I'd forgot about that.
Look, it's my hand twid. When they build the entertainment unit. That's...
So the one where they get robbed. When he gets locked in the entertainment unit.
Oh, the whole thing with the duck as well. It's so stupid.
Yeah. The chick and the duck. And he was going to return them, but then he comes back and he's got the chick as well as the duck. You are right there, because again, you feel like we've all got a friend like Joey.
Pity. You met him once.
Yeah, I get it completely. So with Joey, episodes, with Matt LeBlanc, episodes, I went into that not having high hopes. But I thought I'll watch it because I like Steve Mangan and I like Tamsin Gregg. I'll give it a chance. And it's outstanding. Like, it's some of the best work that he's done outside. Well, I mean, I know it's not really the highest praise, but it's probably some of the best work any of the Friends cast have done outside of Friends, to be perfectly honest. I thought it was just a tremendous show. Ran for 5 years, and it's one I don't know many people who've even seen it.
No, I don't think, was it even shown here? Or if it was late night or something.
Yeah, BBC Two at like 11:30 on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Buried in the schedules, so, which is ridiculous because it's got two stalwarts of British comedy, so why wouldn't that be front and centre?
But they also did that with Breaking Bad on Channel 5. So
Breaking Bad on Channel 5, how ridiculous is that?
But I mean, did you ever watch the spin-off? Joey spin-off?
The Joey spin-off. I watched the first season of it. I don't think I saw the second. I don't remember seeing the second. Because it didn't last, what was it, 46 episodes that ran for. Did anyone ever appear in it other than Joey? Did any of the other friends turn up?
I'm sure they did. They must have done. Well, I don't know if I ever seen the second. Was the second one even shown?
I don't remember.
Because I know the first one definitely was because it was on Sky. And I watched it religiously every week. And it was never the same. It always felt a bit too forced.
Yeah. I remember this would have been one of the, like when I first started to download P2P file sharing nonsense, this would have been one of the early days of that. And I remember downloading the whole season 1 of it when it had like pretty much just, as they were coming out each episode. So I remember watching the original pilot because it wasn't Andrea Anders.
No.
It was someone else. I can't even remember who it was. That's so long ago it was. But yeah, the other love interest neighbour, she got canned after the first episode, and then they reshot the pilot, and everything was the same apart from Andrea Anders was in it rather than this other person whose name escapes me. But you could tell from the first episode it wasn't going to work because it wasn't Friends, but you've got Joey there, so like it doesn't hit the same, does it?
No, but then having him, who is the same character in everything anyway, as we said, does work in everything else, which is, I don't know, they tried the Cheers thing, didn't work.
I kind of wondered, because Drea de Matteo, who played his sister in it, I'm under the impression that this was the reason she left Sopranos, which kind of feels like a mistake in retrospect. But then again, I mean, Sopranos didn't last that much longer after Drea left the show anyway. So, but I mean, she's absolutely fantastic in Sopranos. Her character is just amazing. But if you'd have seen her in this, and like I only used to watch Sopranos very, very recently, you wouldn't think anything of Drea de Matteo. This is not her best work by any stretch of the imagination. But it is odd because this has become something of the go-to when you talk about failed spin-offs. Joey is I think the first one that gets mentioned. I wonder if it wasn't a spin-off, if this was the first show in its own thing. I wonder if it would have been accepted, or if it was because it's not Friends.
But it was a different time as well. I'm saying 46 episodes, that's 4 years now of something.
True. Yeah, that is a good point.
And maybe he was under contract, maybe that's why they did it so quickly. But if they'd left it 5-10 years and gone back to it then, maybe it would have worked better. It felt very soon afterwards for me, even at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing just looking at so if Friends ended in 2004, that would have been in like the May time when the series usually end. The fall starts in September, October. So yeah, there's no break at all, really, is there? And then you're picking back up with Joey, and the rest aren't there. So, like, as an audience member, it's almost whiplash, isn't it? Yeah, I can see why it failed miserably. Plus, I don't think the writing was as strong. Looking through the rest of his filmography, it's not really a lot here.
No.
He's got a couple of appearances in the Charlie Angels films as Jason. I don't even know who that is. Like, it might just be a walk-on part. You would think that someone who has had as long a run as he had in Friends, that there would be more to his filmography than there actually is.
Yeah, you look at you think Ted Danson, that's what he was always compared to.
Yeah.
This is what's going to happen.
Yeah, and like Ted Danson's had a stellar career after Cheers. He's done tremendously well, but Mott LeBlanc hasn't. And I don't get me wrong, it might be a case of he doesn't need the money, so he's not going to rush. Which fair dues. I mean, I think if I made that much money, I would probably retire early as well. Can't blame him for it.
Well, he looked very happy with himself in the... does that mean that always goes around every year with him sitting in the chair at the reunion thing? He's like, perfect dad energy.
Yeah, bless him. Like, he's enjoying his downtime and absolutely no qualms about it. It's what he should be doing. making the most of it. Moving on to Chandler then. So Matthew Perry. Is he the most popular of the characters?
Probably. Because of his stupid name as well. It's like instantly recognisable.
I think he was always my favourite when I was watching it.
Mine was always Joey, always was. I mean, I didn't like Chandler. But at the same time, and I know I was in the minority with all that, because Chandler normally came with fucking Janice.
Janice? Oh, bless. I did love Janice, to be fair.
She can be left till next week.
We should do like some of the secondary and tertiary characters, like Bruce Willis's run and stuff. We should look at that as well.
Gunther.
Yeah, but I mean, Janice was it the second episode of The X-Files? She's in one of the early episodes of The X-Files, and she's not loud and obnoxious like she is in that. And it's one of those things you look at her and it takes a second to realise who it is because she's so different. But I always like Chandler because I think it was because it's the type of humour that I like, and I've always been quite sarcastic, or I particularly was at that time of my life. So I think there was like an element of identifying with the character there. So I always loved Chandler, and I feel like everybody likes Chandler. Like I can see why people don't like Ross. Like I know some of it's spurious and it's looking back 30 years with modern eyes. I get it. But I don't feel like Chandler's got that sort of nasty edge to him. Other than like, I know there was a lot of transphobic jokes, but it feels like very 90s.
Yeah.
Making a joke about trannies was the term that was like just thrown around. That it wouldn't be acceptable now, but times have changed. It's like we have learned from these things and moved on. But other than that, I don't feel like Chandler's ever had the edge that the others have had with it.
Here is your normal office worker who is a bit unlucky in love kind of thing.
Yeah.
Compared to the others. Yeah. So, I mean, maybe that's what it was. I never worked in an office, so I don't know. That's an alien environment for me.
Yeah. I do think that he probably has one of the best moments in Friends, which would be the London episode again, where he wakes up in bed and Joey comes in, and then when he leaves and then the audience finds out that Monica was in bed with him. Like, that was genuinely shocking, especially as you say, it was at a time pre-internet for the vast majority of the world. There was no Twitter to spoil that for us. That was outstanding.
I had that and the moment when Joey finds out as well. It's superb moments.
Yeah. I know this isn't him so much as Monica, but when she proposes to him after he spent the whole day running around the city trying to get to her before Richard does, I remember bawling my eyes out. That was one of the sweetest moments in TV history. So beautiful how that was done.
I think that was what the whole beauty of the whole show was, though, because it wasn't just a farce all the time. It was serious sometimes, and when he did do serious things, he did it really well.
Yeah, it did. Like the episode when Chandler kisses Paget Brewster's character, the copy shop girl, and then like to try and make it up to Joey says he has to go in the box.
It stays there.
Like it's really silly, but at the same time, there's that love that between those two characters that he's willing to put himself in this position that's going to be really uncomfortable for him. Yeah. I know this is more of a Joey moment than a Chandler moment, but when the girl breaks up with Chandler and then Joey breaks the box open and tells him to go and run after her, it's just so sweet. I think Chandler is involved in some of the best moments in this show. I really do. Well,
even like I said earlier, about the last episode, where they say as they're walking off, and he says, "Where?" for coffee.
Yes, yeah, that is brilliant.
And it's such a throwaway thing, but it's like, yeah, well, this this is it for us, but these characters are obviously going to live on again. We may see them later on down the line, and obviously now we never are going to. But I remember that I was in tears. I was like sobbing, like salt eyes at that episode because I didn't want it to end.
Have you ever heard the Paul Rudd story where he talks about the last episode? Because obviously he marries Phoebe, doesn't he, in the end?
Yeah.
And he's there in the last episode, so that they're all there and all the keys are on the side. And apparently like, the 6 main cast are all stood around holding each other, hugging in like one big group hug, just bawling their eyes out. Because obviously it's such an emotional moment for them. And Paul Rudd just works his way in and says, "Oh, we've had a great 10 years, lads. This has just been a brilliant, brilliant show." And they all just look at him, this death stare, because obviously he's been there 2 minutes and they've been there 10 years. And he's just trampling all over everything that's going on. Like, I think he was doing it as a joke, but it would have been brilliant to have seen it. Any other episodes or anything for Chandler? The one where he takes a bath, where he finally realises the beauty of having a bath. And like, I've never quite clicked on that, but his reaction to where he just melts and he's happy. And I quite like that one. And that's a good episode too.
The beauty of having a bath. I watched that whole Under the Cosh Bully episode in the bath the other day. It was something I'd never thought of doing before. And I thought, well, actually, it's on YouTube. It doesn't need to be like 55 inches on the wall. And I don't have to put this on my phone either. I could just put it on. I just get my tablet, put it on its tablet stand, and then put it by the door so he can't get splashed. He can't get any steam on it. It'll be fine. And so I left the door open so there was a bit of traffic going through, so the kitten couldn't destroy anything else. So lay there in a very hot bath for an hour and a half. Which is Steve Bull talking about things that we've heard him talk about several 100 million times already.
Yeah.
But yeah, Chandler was right.
See, this is why I don't have a bath. I just get bored in there. I could sooner just have a quick shower and then carry on watching TV. The hypnosis tapes, where they're obviously hypnosis tapes for women. So then he starts to act like a strong, powerful woman.
Yeah.
Outstanding. What have you got on your list of non-Friends related goodness?
Whole 9 yards. That's it.
It's a bit more of a struggle, isn't it, with Matthew Perry? I never saw a whole 10 yards, the sequel. I mean, I did see a whole 9 yards, which was fine. I don't remember loving it, if I'm honest. He's another one who I think he really struggled to shake the shadow of Chandler Bing, didn't he? Don't feel like he ever had much of a career outside it, which is unfortunate because there were a couple of decent shows that unfortunately didn't get the run that they deserved. So you had Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, which was basically 30 Rock but set in Los Angeles. But the problem was 30 Rock existed at the same time. And I think it started before Studio 60 and obviously ran after it. So we got 22 episodes. You got a season-long run. And it was good. It was a good show. It's got 8.3 on IMDb. It is worth a watch. I haven't seen the last episode forever, so I can't remember if it ties up in a nice bow. But it was a good show that deserved better. It deserved a better send-off than it got. And the other one that I got on my list is another show that was really good. It got 22 episodes, and that was it. And it was a show called Go On. And it was about Matthew Perry's character. I think he was I can't know if he was a sports journalist or a sports commentator, something like that. And it was after the passing of his wife, and it's about him going on with his life, which sounds really morbid, but he goes to a support group and meets these other people, and it's really funny, really sweet. It's got Laura Benanti in, who I'm sure you'll recognise from stuff. Brett Gelman's in there. John Chow, he's also in there. Tyler James Williams is in there. Bill Cobbs, there's a lot of faces you'll know, some of whom were starting out their career at this point. And it was a brilliant show that never found an audience. And that's got 7.5 that got. I don't even know if he was ever shown properly in this country, if I just downloaded it. but it was fantastic, and it got a season because it never found its audience. So that happened to him twice. 2 shows that, had it not been for I think Go On was put on at a poor time, so it never got the regular run that it needed. And Studio 60 was just drowned out by 30 Rock. It was a shame.
Well, you can kind of understand what happened to him happening when, if that's happened twice after his main event.
Yeah.
As well as being vulnerable and all the other stuff. And them cunts are going to get their comeuppance anyway now.
Hopefully, yeah.
Well, they're all done, are they? They've got the messages and everything now as well.
Yeah. Nail him to a fucking lamppost, hopefully, with it.
Yeah, they will survive.
Yeah. Horrendous. But yeah, I would recommend to check out both of those shows anyway. Go On is like a great 22-minute sitcom. It's one of those you'll stick on, watch a couple episodes, and then come back to it a couple of weeks later if needs be. It was great fun. Right, okay, so we'll leave the Friends chat there. We'll do it next week, where we'll be looking at Jennifer Aniston, Lisa Kudrow, and Courtney Cox. We're going to be back after a very quick break, where we're going to talk about a couple of films that we've seen this week, and then the main event of the USS Indianapolis, Men of Courage. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us for the final part. So we've seen a couple of films this week, a couple of thrillers. Yeah, I think that's the best way to describe them.
Mm-hmm.
I want to quickly talk to you about Speak No Evil before we get on to the other one, Stu, if you don't mind.
I mean, I'm gonna watch this, so don't.
No spoilers, no spoilers. But this film, on Twitter, this film had nothing but the piss taken out of it, because every time you went to the cinema, no matter what you were seeing, it could be a fucking animated You film, or it could be the goriest 18 you've ever seen. The trailer for Speak No Evil was on before the film. So look, you had absolutely no idea what this movie was really going to be about. I know it was based on a Danish film, but I haven't seen it. Dolan's seen it and said it's worth.
Of course, yes.
The original, yeah. He said it's worth watching the original, so I have got it on my MB list to check out. But yeah, it got taken the piss out of. The trailer looked really hokey, to be honest, as well. It looked awful. And I watched it last night. I don't know why I ever doubted it, because it's James McAvoy doing James McAvoy stuff. He's brilliant in it. Like, he's genuinely terrifying. And you see him and you'll see one bit where he's being his normal, avuncular, happy-go-lucky self. And then he'll turn and something will happen and he'll look just fucking evil and menacing. And I'm just astounded at how much better the film is than the trailer. I don't think I've seen so much of a glow up on trailer to film release. Excellent, really enjoyed it. So yeah, I think you definitely need to check it out.
I mean, for this one, I was sold anyway on the teaser originally, but it did start becoming a thing because I thought it was only because I hadn't been as often as I normally would be to the cinema over the last few months, and so every time I was there, it was on, and I had to do my deaf thing. But if it was for everything, then I'm kind of okay, fine. But good, I'm glad, because that looked all right in a kind of Get Out kind of way.
Yeah, Get Out meets Straw Dogs.
Perfect.
That's how I'd describe it, yeah. But yeah, definitely check it out. I think you'd enjoy it. And I hadn't realised that Mackenzie Davis was in it. I said to Ash last night, Mackenzie Davis, she reminds me of Dan Stevens. I will see them in a film and it will take me 10 minutes to realise who it is, because they always look completely different in every movie they do.
Again,
but yeah, she's tremendous, yeah.
Dan
Stevens.
Again, Downton Abbey. Needs to do it.
I don't think I've got a stomach for it. The other film we wanted to talk about then, Stu, take it away.
We can't talk about it. What was it?
Had you even heard of it? It's called Strange Darling. Had you heard about it before I mentioned it to you?
No, not at all. I sent this to a certain someone, and she said it was at Fright Fest. Don't know why. It's not a horror film.
No.
But when you said don't Google it, I thought, okay. And then it started, and all I knew was it said thriller. That was all it said.
Yeah.
Now, well, that's enough for me. Serial killers, thrillers, that's all we need. And after being told off last week for spoiling, apparently, The Substance, don't know how we spoiled it or anything that we said about it. This was very rarely will I say that you get anything right like this, but it was a 10 out of 10. It was one of the best films I've seen all year. Not just because of things. I thought how it felt like it cost about $200 million.
Like it looks tremendous.
Yeah.
And I imagine it was an indie budget of like 20 quid. Like I imagine they didn't put a lot into it, but the work that they put on there looked fantastic, I thought.
It's not style over substance or anything like that. Everything makes perfect sense why they did what they did. In almost every minute of every shot of every minute makes perfect sense why they chose to do things that way.
Yeah. It's like there's not an ounce of fat on that script at all. They've edited it to within an inch of its life. Everything is taut and strong and brilliantly done.
I mean, she was very taut as well, to be fair. But hour and 38 minutes, in and out, nice and quickly. No pissing about, like you just said. Just a brilliant, brilliant film. Just watch it. We really can't say anything at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, if you like serial killers, you like thrillers, you like an example of people using the materials that they have and draining every single ounce of sweat out of them, then this is what you want. Brilliant.
It is tense as fuck, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. I'm so glad that I went in as blind as I did, which is why I said to you, don't Google anything, just watch it.
Oh.
I think, yeah, you are right. All you need to know is it's a thriller about a serial killer, and that's it. And it's excellent. And I said to you earlier in the group chat, I think the only reason that I didn't mention it immediately is because I saw it the night after I watched The Substance. So The Substance, obviously, this big, wild, massive film, that was still on my mind when I was watching Strange Darling, which isn't big and wild, and like there's moments of that, but it's not on the same level of batshittery as The Substance.
No, I mean,
humanist or human level story, isn't it?
Yeah. When it started and you got running through the woods, and I thought, oh no, is this a trick? Is this going to be like that nonsense from earlier in the year? Are we going to be watching Resident Evil 4 of this again? They're not going to be more wrong. It was a work of art.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I really am. If anyone else has seen it, get in contact. Let us know what you think of these, or just give us a review of any of the other films. If you've seen Beetlejuice, whatever, get in contact with us. You can get emails to cagefightingpod@gmail.com and anything on the Twitter or whatever socials @cagefightingpod. So, the other film that we're here to discuss in 2016, is it?
I can't believe that this is as young as it is.
Yeah, 2016. This film is 8 years old. USS Indianapolis, Men of Courage. I mean, the first thing I noticed when I started playing this was that it's 2 hours, 8 minutes long. I thought, oh dear. This is why I don't like war films, because this is what I keep thinking of them being. Stuff like this. Overlong, overwrought.
I mean, this is the worst example of any war film you can possibly imagine.
It probably is. But this is what I think of when I think. And these are, yeah, when I say I don't like war films, this is what springs to mind for me, stuff like this.
You think stuff like this and not Band of Brothers or Saving Private Ryan or Black Hawk Down, the proper good ones.
Yeah, I always think they're just going to be a showy version of the USS Indianapolis.
The best part of this film was the end. When they were doing
post-court case stuff.
Yeah. With the music. That was actually ripped straight from Band of Brothers, because you had the actors and the real people, and it was telling you what had happened. Yeah, it was in French. I don't know why.
Yeah, same. Yeah,
why it was financed by France. Of the I was going to say the fine people, but they're not. All the writing was in French, so that. Other than that, so I thought, oh no, it's just mean that the Japanese people are going to be in French, and this is going to be an ordeal. But no, it was in English subtitles. Of course, it was. Didn't make any sense at all. But did you know about this incident before?
I'd never heard of it. It wasn't until I looked at the blurb that I realised that this is a true event. Wow. Yeah. I mean, having watched it now, I feel like this would be a 20-minute segment on a documentary film called Why the US Was 4 Years Late to the Second World War. And that would be more than enough for this story, really, because there's not much story here. Like the story is the ship gets hit by a missile. They spend a few days in the water. They get rescued. He gets accused of being the reason that they sank. And then he kills himself because of it. That's the whole story. And yet they did all this flowery bollocks about one of them wanted to propose but lost the ring and then found the ring and then proposed or didn't. And so I don't give a shit about any of this nonsense that's going on outside of the actual main plot. And there was more of that than there was anything else.
It was very much the Pearl Harbor playbook. Where Pearl Harbor is not about the actual attack on Pearl Harbor. It's about some other nonsense that no one cares about.
Yeah.
And like,
there was another film that was out. No, there was another film around that time that was a war film. I think it was Bob Hoskins in it. I think he was playing a Russian, but obviously he still had his Cockney accent because he's Bob Hoskins.
Bob Hoskins in a war film, I don't know why.
It's Bob Hoskins. There was two. You had Pearl Harbor, and there was another film that was out around roughly the same time.
Hang on, Bob Hoskins.
Enemy at the Gate.
Oh, that's good. That is.
I didn't like that. Again, that's another reason I don't like war films. It was that everyone just used their normal accent, whether they were British, American, French, German, Russian, but they were all just speaking like Cockney if it was Bob Hoskins.
Was that
the Enemy of the Gate? It might not even be that one. I'm sure it was Bob Hoskins. But it was horrendous.
I'm looking there, Bob Hoskins Wikipedia. What a time to be alive to looking through this. I've hardly watched any of these films. Enemy at the Gates 2001, yeah.
Yeah, it would have been that one.
Nikita Khrushchev, he played.
I haven't seen a lot of Bob Hoskins films either from probably 2000 onwards looking at this.
Ed Harris, yeah, this is a good film. What are you on about?
Yeah.
Jude Law, Ed Harris, Joseph.
I don't like Jude Law. I think that would easily put my back up, to be honest. Jude Law.
Yeah, it's a good film, at least.
I mean, it's got a 7.5, but I enjoy it. Again, it might just be the case of it being war films and I was just bored.
Yeah, it's like things like that and U571, which is actually wrong. And it's got Bon Jovi in it. That's
the only reason I watched it is because John Bon Jovi was in it.
Yeah, they lied. Maybe I had that at the time. But it's the nonsense war films like that and not the superb ones that let everything down. And then you have this, which is a whole new level. We haven't even talked about it. It's so bad.
I'm trying not to be honest.
I mean, when it started and you had like sub PS2 graphics.
The CG, the graphics in it were appalling. I really laughed in the opening scene where there's like gunners going off and it keeps cutting back to the war room or whatever that's supposed to be on the ship. And there's no movement because whenever you watch anything, when guns are firing, the camera's supposed to move with it. And it just really threw me out. It made it look so bad. It made it look proper. The newest thing I could think of, have you seen Birdemic? Like, that was the first thing. It was that level of dog shit when I was watching it.
Remember, what was that one that we watched? That cage film where there was a tiger or a lion or something.
Yes, I thought of that. Was it Primal? Was it called Primal?
Primal, yeah, Primal.
And it was, the most CG looking. God. Yes, that also came to my mind when I was watching it. It was that level. Like when they were supposed to be showing the night scenes, it was clearly daytime and they've just drawn a black border around the edge of it and highlighted them. It looked awful. I wonder if I can find what the budget is on this, actually, while we're here, because it was shocking. Budget. Right, let's see what it says. 40 million they spent on this. Dear God. I got a box office of 1.6 million. I presume that's just in the US. I don't remember this being released. And I would have been very surprised if it was released outside of the States. This film premiered in the Philippines.
Of course it did.
On the 24th of August 2016. Released digitally on iTunes and Amazon on the 14th of October. So a couple of weeks away from its 8th anniversary. Had a limited theatre run during Veterans Day weekend. I thought that said Valentine's Day weekend, which I was like, didn't you release it for Valentine's Day? No, for the veterans. The film underperformed at the box office and received negative reviews from critics. Like, yeah, I can see why. Looking back on it, I didn't realise which one was Tom Jane.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing Thomas Jane in it.
I thought exactly the same thing when his name came up at the end.
Got Nick Cage, Tom Sizemore. I do remember Sizemore being at the end.
Tom Sizemore was holding his own leg.
Yeah.
At one point.
Yes. James Remar is in. Like, this has actually got a few names in here.
Well, this is what, because I knew what this was, obviously, because it's a famous incident, and it's referencing Jaws. He mentions it in Jaws.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't remember.
When he says about, when he talks about the sharks, and then he starts talking about shark-infested waters and stuff like that.
I have no recollection of it.
Yeah, but the shark in Jaws looks better in Jaws than in this. It's so infuriating because it's such a good. It's not a good story. It's a horrible story, but it's done so shitly. I mean, if someone did this in a kind of Pearl Harbor way, I know that the tacked on love story that you kind of have to have because there isn't much story there, like you said. But if you gave this a proper budget and it had proper effects and stuff, it would be okay. It would, because if you look at it, there was some very few scenes, other than that moron officer or the moron captain, the second in command. Yeah, get off that raft. Him. Other than him, there were times where there was some of the acting wasn't that bad. It wasn't that good. Yeah, it wasn't like when Tom Sizemore was holding his own bitten off leg in his hand, hugging it, and Cage was giving him morphine injections, and his stump is bleeding into the water, and the sharks are in, and nothing's happening. This is maybe a bit too far-fetched in this film, but he was cuddling his own ankle like a baby. it was ludicrous. But the essence of a good film was in there somewhere, and it was just a complete and utter waste. And what
kind of reminds me of what we said about the World Trade Center film.
Yeah. Like, very, very similar.
There's sort of an idea in there that could be something. Because, like I said, like the actual events that happened are interesting. And if they made a documentary about it, brilliant. But that documentary can't be, 2 hours, 10 minutes. There's probably an hour of filler in this film, which is a lot. Pretty much everything before they get torpedoed is filler.
Yeah. And the only reference is that the one guy who, the friend of the one who proposes, is the one who wants to be with her. That's the only thing that gets any resolution out of anything.
Yeah.
and the guys who are in ship prison in the bars, but even the bit which is, it's a kind of it's unfair judging it like this now, but where it breaks in half, like Titanic. Well, 2 years later they found the wreckage and it didn't break it off.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
the fact that it took them 72 years to find the wreckage in the first place is pretty incredible. But yeah, in the essence of a decent idea of just, I don't know what, they've clearly lost money on it. So who is this for? Why make it when you know you haven't got the budget or the effects house? I mean, we talked about this before. Yeah. Look at Godzilla. How good Godzilla looked. Similar part of the world. Do what you have to do. You don't have to show everything.
It's inexcusable to be as bad as this, especially when they've spent 40 million.
If you go and look at the cinematic for Tomb Raider 2 in 1998 on the Great Wall of China, it's not far off this. It's that bad.
Yeah. Absolutely honking this film.
It's almost Max Beyond.
Yeah, it's of that level. It's proper shoddy. I'm genuinely seeing that he's had a 40 million budget has stunned me. What was the film we spoke about last week that had a 4 million budget and a million of that was Nick Cage's? Like, I thought that was going to be this film. I thought, this will be 4, 5, 6 million at most, not 40. So, we haven't really touched on Nick Cage in this film. And it kind of feels like, even though it centres around his captain at the end of it, it doesn't feel like he plays much of a role in anything leading through it.
No.
It feels like, I don't know how I can describe it is, stuff's going on, and the stuff that's then going to be relevant during the court case, Nick just pops up at these pockets throughout the film, just so they can refer back to it later. And everything else is just not about him.
Yeah. It's almost
it doesn't work.
It should be like 5th or 6th on the billing. At best.
Yeah, it should. It was just proper janky, this film was. It was all over the place. There was no real sort of flow to the film whatsoever, I didn't think. I really didn't enjoy this at all.
And it's always a horrible thing when you look at the clock and there's an hour left and they're floating around in the water. What the fuck is it the next hour going to be about?
Yeah. Well, I texted you earlier to say, can we start a little bit later because I'd got an hour and 10 minutes left. And it was literally from the moment that Sizemore was holding his leg in the boat. So I've had to watch that before we started recording the podcast. And honestly, I was fucking pulling my teeth. I was like, this is awful. If I'd have thought about it, I should have just put it on like 1.5 speed or something and just powered through it. Because it honks. Absolutely terrible film. Good, bad, crazy, anything. We've said a lot of bad in fairness. I think everything is bad about this film.
Yeah.
There was nothing really to sort of pull you through. I absolutely wouldn't be recommending this to a soul.
No.
There's nothing there. Even if you like war films, I don't know what you'd get out of this.
No. The CG is so bad it takes you out of the film. It completely ruins any kind of shit tension that you might have. Because as soon as anything happens that needs otherworldly touches, like a plastic shark or some 1998 CG, it just ruins the whole thing. It's like, well, it's clearly fake, and yet we know it's all fake anyway. But it's a suspension of disbelief, which you just can't have
help
with
me
it
a little bit.
You can't have it in this film at all. It's annoying and it's a shame, but it's not our problem. And this film is a joke. The only good thing about it is that its actual existence may make someone realise what happened with the atomic bomb, which wasn't mentioned fucking Oppenheimer or a decent film. And it's a story that's got lost to time somehow. Which when you think about,
I did GCSE history, and I know you're predominantly looking at the British side of things, but this is completely new to me. I'd never heard any of these, even though I remember touching on Pearl Harbor and stuff at school. I've got absolutely no memory, and this feels like it would be quite an important event within the World Wars. So I'm kind of surprised.
But even things like the World at War and that Netflix one from last year that I watched, never mentioned it in there. And I obviously knew about it because, well, Grandad, they had a big DVD box set that cost like 80 quid on World War II. So I knew pretty much as much as you can possibly know from watching that with him. But again, you get taught this stuff, and maybe that's the only good thing about it, that it's sheer being there. It gives people a bit of curiosity, and they look it up and they might come across, oh yeah, this boat sank in shark-infested waters and they survived in the sea and all this stuff. I did kind of laugh when the moody officers and I finished first in my class when they were pissing about in the mess hall. That was a nice little jape. But that is really pulling at the back of your teeth for something decent to say.
Crazy. I've got this is Mario Van Peebles directed, which absolutely stunned me. Sweet Sweetback's badass song. The kid from that, like, this is a guy who I know mostly from old blaxploitation films. Doing this movie just seemed utterly mental. Didn't just really surprise me, that did, because from what I know him of doing more sort of B-movie fodder and like fun stuff, don't get me wrong, I didn't expect him to have then done something like this. So whether or not he's in Nick Cage's 2016 needing the money boat, maybe that might be why. So that kind of surprised me. Anything crazy from you?
Just on the IMDb trivia page, as usual, that one of the characters played their own granddad, who was actually there.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and he wore something of his own granddad's that was from that time, which is pretty weird and amazing, really, at the same time. But again, wasted on this nonsense.
Yeah, I'm just on the Rotten Tomatoes looking at the reviews. So it's got 17% from it's only 12 critics, in fairness, but like two of them, it's too positive. One of them, we get to experience this incredible story starring so many of our local folks and landmarks on the big screen. That's a positive review. Like, that doesn't tell you anything about the film. The other one is from Rex Reed at The Observer. So I'm kind of surprised the British paper would have reviewed this one. As a dramatic postscript to the factors that led to Japanese surrender, its power and importance are undeniable. I don't think he's watched this film. I hated that bit at the end, by the way. So as part of the court case, the Japanese commander who was running the submarine comes to testify on behalf of Nick Cage, or rather Nick Cage's character. And then they have this conversation of, I wanted to kill you as a soldier, but as a man, I'm glad you're okay, sort of thing. And I'm like, do we really need this? So you're just basically saying, yes, war bad. Let's do better than war. Like, we sort of know that. It's just really like saccharine sweet bollocks. I really hated it.
And it's ripped from so many other things as well. There's a scene in Band of Brothers again. A kind of similar thing where they're talking and they're more talking about themselves and say, yeah, you look at it and before all this, they were probably just a German version of us. They do the same thing as us, but we do what we have to do. And it's obviously a lot better and more heartfelt and meaningful than talking to each other like this. Like, oh yeah, it's all right now. But again, we did have the whole playing football on Christmas Day thing in World War One and all that stuff across the trenches. And so this stuff did happen, but not.
Yeah, I'm sure it absolutely did. It just didn't. It wasn't needed.
It didn't work. Didn't make any sense.
No, it didn't. It was terrible.
I was shocked when he was there, though.
Yeah, I mean, that is kind of incredible that he turned up to testify on behalf of the enemy, so to speak, as it was. Like, I would imagine that, again, if this was in a documentary about it, that would be quite powerful to find out. It was a bit of a wet fart in this film, though, wasn't it? The best review I've got on here, though, Glenn Kenny from RogerEbert.com. Not exactly unwatchable, but it's also completely not worthy of watching. Yes, perfect. Nick Cage, good or bad? I felt like every line delivery felt like he was reading it.
Yeah.
Like none of it felt sincere.
It was as found in as left behind, wasn't it? And it was almost like, well, why should I be bothered with this? That's what it felt like.
Yeah. I mean, he's not wrong. Why should he be bothered with it? But then at the same time, don't do films like this. You are better than this stuff.
It was a bit of a drip throughout the whole thing. And you think, well, it's not very believable.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, like the crescendo of the film is his character killing himself after, being tormented by the ghosts of his past that he wasn't really responsible for anyway. So you want to feel bereft at the end of it. You want to feel like, lost something. Yeah, that's not a good ending to a film. So it's a stinker. Yeah, an absolute stinker from Cage on this one. Which, I mean, as we spoke about last week, this is only 2 years on from his previous, from like Left Behind that we'd watched, and obviously Dying of the Light, wasn't it? It's the film that we watched last week, and he's still in that run of, I've got a whopping fucking tax bill to pay and I need to get the money in. Like, he's in that run and he's just doing whatever he can for the money, because this is very much what that felt like. But yeah. Did you enjoy the film? No, I didn't enjoy the film. Steve? No.
Bored.
Yeah. Right. So if you enjoyed the USS Indianapolis, you may also enjoy anything. I think I know one you might say.
Padded Cell. The Pacific. Well, the series, the Band of Brothers sequel series.
Okay. Because my answer is going to be a courtroom drama, because I think that is the best bit of this film. And actually, this film should have been a courtroom drama that then like flashes back to what happened. I think that would make more sense. So my answer is going to be A Few Good Men. I thought you might have gone for Dark Waters. Because I know you like...
I love Dark Waters. Great.
Yeah, so I thought, I don't know why I thought that might be yours. But yeah, A Few Good Men would be mine, because I do think this should have been a courtroom drama where they go over everything and then you just see flashbacks of Cage. I think that would be a much more interesting film they was giving us.
Yeah, it probably would as well. And it'd give you license to just not show all the nonsense either and go...
Exactly.
Using through flashbacks, and because it's very few things. And yeah, that would work quite well, to be fair.
This is it, because you then spend time with Nick Cage's character, you learn about him. So when he gets found guilty and when he kills himself, it means something. So I feel like give me the script and I will do a better job on this one. Right, okay. So that's another Nick Cage film in the record books. Next week, I don't have a film listed. Yes, I do. We're doing Dark. So this is going to be Paul Schrader's cut of Dying of the Light. So a few years after Dying of the Light. So I think he released this in 2017 and Dying of the Light was 14. So he was then given the chance to do his own cut on Dying of the Light. So I'm kind of interested to see if Dark is going to be any better than Dying of the Light. The problem is I've already forgot most of what Dying of the Light was about because it was so bad. So I might have to see if I can find a YouTube video to just refresh my mind on that. And then we'll watch Dark and see how that one goes.
Why is it not listed on IMDb?
Is it not? let's have a quick. It might be under a different title. Where are we? 2017, Dark. 6. It's before Mandy and after the Humanity Bureau.
So not True Cage. Humanity Bureau. What is it?
It's only an hour and 15. So, I mean, no matter how bad it is, it's only an hour and 15.
Just scrolling through. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no search Dark.
I bet it'll come up with that German TV show.
Yeah.
Which is also from 2017. Yeah, Dark Winds, Dark Matter, Dark Knight Rises. Yeah. The actual Nick Cage film. I've clicked on more. And there's nothing. I've clicked on him more again. It's kind of a Dark Side of the Ring and stuff now. It's on the third time you click more. That's how low down it is. Yeah, so that's a recut of that film that we watched last week. But it's only an hour and 15, so worst case scenario. Put it on 1.25 speed, knock it out in 45 minutes, job done.
I'll do it properly like always.
Yeah. I'm more interested in that one now, having seen last week's and been thoroughly bored throughout.
Yeah. Just
to see if it was the studio that fucked it or if it was just the source material was always crap.
Well, I don't know how this is still when it's only an hour and 15 minutes long. Because it's like the highlights package.
The thing, I mean, we know that they did reshots and stuff and put it into the original. So there must not have been a lot there. I wonder if this is just going to be that film again, but without the reshoots.
Oh.
We'll find out. We'll see next week.
It's a strange experiment.
It is, yeah. Like, I don't know any other films that have done this to that level. I know, obviously, we had the Snyder cut of Justice Bollocks, but obviously that was a different film entirely. This is a recut of what was already existing, so I don't know.
Oh.
But we shall see. So yeah, next week we'll be talking about the 3 Friends girls. We'll have a look at some of the cameos as well. I think we can talk about Paul Rudd and Julia Roberts and all those other people who made the odd appearance. And then the week after, we're going to be doing our top 5 Friends episodes. So get in contact and let us know what your favourite Friends episodes and moments are. cagefightingpod@gmail.com, emails and socials @cagefightingpod. Make sure you subscribe to whatever podcaster that you listen to us on as well, please. And a 5-star review is a must. So for this week, Stu, would you like to say goodbye?
Goodbye. Watching Friends is it's such a joyful thing. I am going to go back and start again after Christmas Day. It's been long enough. I'm getting the urge talking about it now.
Same here, actually.
Yeah. I don't think I could be sad again. I think that's the thing, because I know that's it now. And it's been so long since I watched. You're talking what? Yeah, it's only 20.
Well, if you haven't seen it since it was on live, then yeah, it's 20 years ago that it ended.
Yeah, so I'm thinking the last time I watched the first episode. You're probably talking best part of 30 odd years. Yeah. Probably, because not long after it started, when it was shown again and again and again. Because
it lived on E4, didn't it, for a day? Yeah.
That's what I mean. I probably saw it in the background on E4, be like in between Bonsai and stuff like that. But actually sitting down and watching it, probably you're talking like 25 years, 25, 30 years since the first episode. So yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, it will be. Lovely. Right, it's goodbye from me too, and remember, be excellent to each other.